So your parts for this thing are all going to depend on which flashlight you've got. So what I am going with is this one from Sam's Club. It's a little LED light. They come two to a pack, 20 bucks for two, and they're 200 lumens. And of all these pieces that it's going to take, you're going to need some 1.5 inch PVC Schedule 40. And we're going to take it, and this is the only thing that I'm cutting out of 1.5 inch, is a couple of pieces that are 1.5 inches, 2 inches long. In the middle I've got a T that's 1.5 inch and 1 inch. And you can see on a finished head that T's in the middle. These are connectors. So that's going to go together. On this end I've got a threaded connector, and that's going to be your tight spot. That's where you need to take your flashlight and see if it fits. And this one does not fit by much, but it will go through. So it just barely fits. That's kind of nice. It's the biggest flashlight I can fit on this 1.5 inch connector. Otherwise you might have to go to 2 inch. But the 1.5 inch connector will go on. A little screw cap on it. And on the other end, I took a pipe connector that just joins two pipes end to end. It's a short one. It's got a ring in the middle. And I carved off the lower half of it, kind of rounded it off so that when it's on the light, you have a shade. So when you're holding it down there, floundering, the light's less likely to be able to bounce up and get in your eyes. But it will definitely shine down onto the ground like it's supposed to, or on the bottom. So I took that. It's got a ring cut out in here, and so I took a 2 inch hole drill bit that I got at the blue box store, a hole saw, and this created a bit of an issue because it's got a drill bit in the middle, and I don't want to drill a hole through the glass that I'm going to try to use as a seal. But what I learned is you can get this out, and it's got a set screw down there. So use a hex key, get that set screw out, I remove the entire set screw, and that comes out. So when I put this back together, I can cut holes with it, and I use that. I bought an 8x10 sheet of Lexan, and you can see I've been cutting holes in it. That's a little tricky. I'll show you in another clip how I do that, but I take this, cut a piece of Lexan out, and when you trim the edges off of it, you end up with a little glass disc, or Lexan disc, that will drop perfectly in this piece. Drops down in there just perfect. So what I do is I run a bead of silicone around there, drop it in, push it down, and the silicone will well up around here. You can see that a little bit. And once I've got it down for a little bit, I'll run a bead on the interior also, and then leave that with the glass on top. Let it sit overnight so that it will cure. Once you get that piece done, eventually when you're ready to glue it, it's going to go on. It's going to go on the front half like that. I may have to trim a little of this off. I've got it a little too long and it won't quite go down in seat, but it's pushing against that Lexan in the front. It's not altogether bad. So that allows you to get the head made. And if you have your flashlight, it will drop in all the way to the front. can turn it on. And I've got my handle. I take a piece of rag and stuff it in there to hold the back end, and then the handle is sticking out a little bit. I kind of leave a mound of rag because when you put the screw on the back, leaves you something to hang on to. So what I'm end up having to do, I'm going to have to run some plumber's tape around this so that when I screw it on, it'll be a little bit tighter, a little more watertight. Because with just hand tightening, it's not watertight very well, which I wouldn't expect it to be. Okay, so that's the head, that's the important part. And then for the rest of it, it's just 1-inch PVC pipe. You can see I used a heat gun down here. Very carefully worked around it, getting it warm, trying to bend it. And when it gets warm enough, I put the head on so I have something to torque it with. Put a little bit of a bend in it so that when, I'll show you in a minute, when you hold it in the correct position, like to flounder, it works. So this is all 1-inch PVC. Comes up here and there's a T connector, another short piece of 1-inch PVC, and then an end cap. On this end, this is your handle, and it's capped with another end cap. They all just glue together and stick together, so it's pretty simple. It's just if you don't put the bend in this end, it's not as comfortable to walk around with in the water. The only other things I'm using, I used a cordless drill to be able to cut out the Lexan circles. And I'm also using the primer for the PVC. You paint that on, it's got a little brush inside. Paint both surfaces that are going to go together, and within about 10 seconds it's dry. And then you use PVC cement. Push the pieces together, give it a quarter turn, and it's set to go. Just on some of these pieces like this, be sure when you stick them together that you quickly get it into the right position so that it's the shade is on the top.
Pretty good quality.
Alright guys, here we go, my little LED contraption. Lights up pretty good. Let's get out here after the flounder. I'll get back with you. Not quite legal, but he's close.